So the story that made me into who I am now would definitely be, when my girlfriend started her piano studio. Um, like back then, I really just wanted to help her in any way that I could.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, well, if I can help her with the website, I can take that off of her plate. That would allow her to free up her time and be able to teach and not have to worry about the website. So she opened up the studio in 2016, and I spent all this time since then, learning about websites and, just trying to figure out how to make our site better. What ended up
Mhm.
happening as a result of that is I was part of different Facebook groups, and I would see people sort of asking questions. And I said, well, I've learned all these things. Let me see if I can help them. So
Mhm.
I went to go help them. And I started giving advice, helping people out. And one of the things that I found out is a lot of people were asking for critiques. Can you take a look at my website, give me this video critique? So I was like, absolutely sure. I would love to give you this critique and share the knowledge that I've gained with you. And so I would give them these critiques, and I would check back a couple weeks later to a month later. Hey, because I was honestly curious, like, were you able to implement the things that I had said to you? And they said, you know what, I honestly wasn't able to. And the two reasons that came up time and time again were, one, the platform that my website's on is a little too complicated to kind of use, right?
Mm.
And two, um, the designer or the website designer that I'm working with, they have a lot on their plate, and they're not as responsive to me. They don't make the changes as quickly as I wanted to. So I kind of saw that, and I'm talking about maybe like 2, 3 years ago. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I think I can help teachers in a real way, because personally for me, I've always been super interested in kind of what makes people do things. I'm like the people watcher in the mall. Why is
Yeah,
so and so
yeah,
doing such and
yeah.
such thing? So it was really interesting to me that I can change a couple things on a website. I can change the copy. I can, change an image, and that would affect how people interact with the site, or, become a lead or complete the conversion. So over that time, well, fast forward to kind of present day,
Uh-huh.
now I offer these services to private music teachers, and we sort of specialize in kind of three main things. Like the first thing would be is we have a platform that private music teachers can build their actual website on.
Mhm.
Um, the second thing would be is we have music teacher specific templates that music teachers can use. All they have to do is fill in the copy. We have copy prompts. They add their pictures, and they could hit the ground running with a very successful website from day one. And this website already has baked into it all the experiences that I've had up until those 8 years, all the successes, all of the failures, all the highs and lows, baked into this one amazing template. And the last thing that we do is, once the website is built, we offer teachers a way that they can bring traffic to the site in the form of Google Ads and I'm about to say social media, but in Google Ads and SEO. Those are the ways
Mhm.
that we primarily bring traffic to the site. So at my core, like my core story would be, I really love helping teachers. I play the drums myself, so
Yeah.
this started out as something that I did for us and our studio,
Mhm.
and I feel so honored that I'm able to help teachers, because so many music teachers have had an impact on my life, and
Mhm.
if I'm able to just help teachers in any way and allow them to spread their impact further, that would honestly that's a win for me.
I love it. I love it. I like how you said like it really only takes like small tweaks on the websites to be able to make big changes. And
For
I feel
sure.
like that's really where I've seen your value and you giving back to the community. And it's that's what strategy is. It's like prioritization,
Yeah.
and you're able to find those little tweaks that make the biggest results. So I'm really glad that you're doing that for all the teachers that you work with. Quick question: what kind of
Yeah.
drums?
Sure.
Like,
Uh,
was it
I
like
was I
marching
was
or
playing. Yeah,
drum set?
I was playing tenors in the drum lines. I was
Oh,
marching the quads. I did that all the way through high school. I marched DCA, Drum Corps Association, for those who
Uh-huh.
may not be aware. And quick funny story is I was told by one of those friends, hey, you'll never be able to make the Reading Buccaneers. The Reading Buccaneers at that time, and still are like the reigning most
Uh-huh.
winning DCI drum corps in history. And I was told, you can't make that. Like, you will never be good enough to make this thing. And this was a friend of mine who I drummed with in high school. Hey, you'll never be able to make
Yeah.
this thing. And I just had that in me, like, I'm going to prove you wrong. You're not going to tell me what I can and can't do. And I
Mhm.
made that drum corps. And it was one of the most insane experiences because it's one of those things. There are very few times you get to actually live your dream, like that
Uh-huh.
mindset that, hey, like, I'm pretty sure for some people it's like Carnegie Hall. Like, when I am able to play piano at Carnegie Hall, I have
Mhm.
made it. In my mind, when I was there, I made it, and it was absolutely
Yes.
incredible. So those are the drums that I played, and I also taught my high school drum line how to, like, I was teaching them throughout their season
Yeah.
and coaching them up. And that was another amazing experience teaching those kids.
That's super cool. That's literally like my story as well, except the DCI
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But I did Pitt from
Mm-hmm.
like throughout high school, and then that's what got me into like majoring in music. So I studied like music ed,
Nice.
but then I did classical percussion throughout my years as well. But yeah, going back and helping like my old high school and being able to teach a new high school. Like I did percussion coaching for like 3 years as
No
well, and that was an
way.
awesome experience. So that's
Right?
cool. That's cool. That's cool. You
Like
got that
those
marching
kids.
background. Yeah.
Exactly. Like those kids, there was one time that, like, we had worked hard all season. We got to the last show, we got to finals,
Uh huh.
and the section leader at that time, like, they looked at me with tears in their eyes, and they said to me, we now know what it means when you say it feels good to be good. Because those kids
Hmm.
were amazing, and to see their
Nice.
their like little teenage eyes, like 12th grade, crying, oh my goodness, it was so amazing. That's a memory I will never soon forget.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Um, so being able to like now help teachers with their websites, like I know you
Hmm.
did some work with your partner as well. Like what was that
Hmm.
like? What was kind of like that process where you were kind of in the works, like doing it with the piano studio?
Sure. So that process that we kind of went through was very iterative. I'd
Hmm.
be lying to say if it was, on day one we had this website, and on day, now we have this website. Like, it wasn't like that. It was like you were saying before, a lot of small tweaks. Funny enough, her mother would often say to me, "Isn't the website done?" Like,
Hmm.
you're still working on it, isn't it done? And in my mind, I'm like, it's never done. You're always testing, you're always trying new things out, you're always working on things. So for me, it was that iterative process of, I'm learning something out in the real world. I've taken courses, trainings, listened to
Yeah.
podcasts, and I'm trying to implement these things that I've learned in a real world situation with this website.
Yeah.
So
Any like scenarios that come to mind, or any examples that you like a tweak that you made that made a big change or something like that? Like
sure,
what did that look
sure.
like?
So the one thing that I mean, there was a bunch, but one that comes to mind right now is having a call, not a call to action, but having a testimonial above the
Uh-huh.
fold, right?
Mm.
And I'm going to give you this scenario. So let's say you go to a new restaurant. You haven't been to the restaurant before, and you're about to walk into this restaurant, and as soon as you're about to open the door and walk in, somebody walks out and says, oh my goodness, this restaurant is absolutely amazing. They have the best fish and chips in the world. You're absolutely going to love it in there. You should ask for Ronald. He's going to be great. He's going to take great care of you. Now you're walking into this restaurant with this different train of thought. You're like, wow, this is going to be a great
Mm.
experience. The same exact thing goes for a testimonial above the fold. This testimonial is now acting like the person who is walking out of the restaurant saying, oh my goodness, my son has had an amazing experience here. He's now running to the piano without me having to ask. And
Yeah.
now, as they are scrolling through your website, that's playing in their mind, or either consciously or subconsciously. And now that is a very small tweak that somebody can do that will kind of shift the way that they perceive you as they enter and walk through your site.
Yeah. When you say above the fold, that's like that means like before you scroll, right? Anything like
A hundred
was that
percent,
what?
yeah. So
Okay. Okay.
correct, correct.
Cool. That was for me. Make sure I'm on the same page.
Correct. That's above the fold. Yes.
Cool, cool. I mean, that's super important. Like testimonials, I always feel like testimonials are just like the 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 easiest and the most powerful way to market. It's like
Mm,
the social proof. Like you could have anything. You could have um, if you could have anything in your marketing in your website. I believe the testimonials are the most powerful. Um, where you don't have to go convincing someone, you don't have to go persuading them that you have a great experience. Like, just here, let me just show you. Let me show you. Um,
100%. I think that a lot of times private music teachers, we like to tell, and I'd rather show than tell. Show me that you are an amazing studio. And there are
mhm,
two ways that I kind of like to show, I guess, testimonials or social proof on a website, right? The first
mhm,
one would be a classic before and after. A lot of music teachers, they will have a bunch of videos of people at the recital. And people put that on their website, which is fine, but I think they're missing a more powerful way to use that video. Because
mhm.
believe it or not, when somebody's looking at that video, they're not going to give whoever is playing the benefit of the doubt. They're not going to say, oh, well, this person's only been playing for, 1 year, which might be true. They've only been playing for 1 year and they sound this amazing. They think that this person, no matter how good they are, has been playing for an extremely long period of time. They can never get to that level. So what I like to do is everybody has that student who made great progress or made good progress in a certain amount of time. I'm not saying
Mm.
this is going to be like way off on the bell curve, which where it's this unrealistic amount of time. But let's say that somebody started day one and this is how they started playing, and then 9 months later they can now play this thing. Even that amount of time, if you have those two videos side by side, and it could even be, here is their first recital, and then a year later, here's their next recital side by side,
Mhm.
having that context so they can visually see, wow, this
Yeah,
person went from this to this in this amount of time. It's the time frame that matters. Then
mhm.
people can tangibly see, where will I be in this amount of time? So that's the
I like
first way
that.
I like to use social proof.
I like that. I like that. And something I tell my teachers a lot too is to have this habit of documentation. That's how I like to go about my content creation. Is like documenting what's working for me and for my teachers, document what's working for your students and things like that as well. But when we have that habit of documentation, you'll have all these videos of your students and their growth, and you can be able to easily do that before and after thing if you just naturally have a bunch of videos of your students already. So I really like that before and
For
after.
sure, for sure.
Is there another one? Is there another one that was that
Yeah,
like the
that was like, let's just say that would be one section on the
uh
website, right?
yeah, yeah,
There
yeah.
is another part that I also like to include, and I'm going to see if I can do this speaking. So imagine, so a lot of people will have written testimonials. Like, this is the written testimonial part. I like to take screenshots and put those actual
Mm,
screenshots on the page itself.
yeah.
And also above that screenshot, have a picture of that student playing the instrument to put a little bit more value on that. So let's imagine a 3 by 3 grid, right? So you have 9 testimonials total. You have a screenshot, and then right above that screenshot, you have a picture of the person playing. Also, on some of those, instead of having a picture, you can have a video of the person playing to even drive the point home even more.
Hmm.
So those would be the two ways that I like to use testimonials. You have the kind of the before and after, then you have the screenshot testimonial. And if you can even get your students talking on camera about, you don't want them giving kudos to the teacher saying, oh, I know Ben is an absolute amazing teacher. He's done so much for me. What you're more looking for in these testimonials are, what is the student able to do now that they weren't able to do then? Oh man, I really struggled in the beginning to play with my hands together, but now I'm able to play with my hands together flawlessly and smoothly. Rhythms are simple. Those are the kind of testimonials that you want to see. Is what is a transformation? What are they able to do now that they weren't able to do
Hmm.
before?
Yeah. It's really cool to see how like these like all of these things really come from those tweaks that you make and those
Yeah.
iterations. I'm kind of curious, like, what do you feel like throughout your journey? What's like the problem that most teachers don't even expect to run into that you know that they need to solve in order to get their website like working harder for them?
Mm. So the one issue that a lot of teachers kind of run into is not having a website that looks visually appealing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people judge websites just like people judge other people. So as private music teachers, a lot of teachers will dress a certain way to present themselves in a certain way. They're not going to
Mm-hmm.
wear I'm not going to say not everybody, but chances are they're not going to wear, what they're going to be wearing around the house every single day to clean in to go out and teach students. Some might, but the majority may not, right? But the
Uh-huh.
same goes for your website, where this is the person's first interaction with you online is how your website looks, and they're judging you based upon how your website looks. So a challenge that teachers kind of come up against is, how do I have a website that both looks good but also conveys my message the way that I want it to convey, but also attract students to me? So that Venn diagram of that, of having a website that looks good, a website that speaks like the teacher, but then a website that also attracts students, I think that's sort of the biggest hurdle that teachers kind of run up against.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Quick question that kind of like,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's a quick question, but it's a question
Okay,
that popped in my head as you're talking about that.
please.
But I feel like the difference between the thing that I teach a lot with content creation is, the difference between a teacher that attracts their dream students versus one who is struggling to attract their dream students is the emotion that you put in your copy and in your content creation. Like you could be a it's kind of like music, a performer that
Mm,
is putting their emotions into the performance is going to resonate a lot more with the audience than someone who's technically better. So when it comes to
mm-hmm.
like a website, um, a website that is visually looking good versus a website that emotionally hits with the website visitor, like what's
Yes.
the difference in that? Like how do you what's
Ooh,
that
I
extra
love it.
layer now
Okay.
of like the
Uh,
emotions and the feeling of the website? Where's that
for
come to play?
sure. All right, that is such an amazing analogy that you made. And I'm going to take what you said. I'm going to carry the ball a little bit further. The
Cool.
thing
Yeah.
that the thing that is missing is connection. So you have emotion, but now you need to connect with the visitor. And the way that you connect with your visitors on the website is they're coming to the website to look and find themselves.
Mm.
As the teacher writing the copy, does the teacher understand where I'm coming from? Do they understand my problems, my struggles? And I feel like something that teachers run up against, and this is kind of alluding to your previous point, is a lot of teachers have went to school, have done very prestigious things. They've won awards. They write compositions, and they want to showcase those things. So they feel kind of stuffed down a little bit or dampened because, well, when am I supposed to talk about myself and how well I'm doing? And there is a time and place for that, but it's not when a person's coming to your site. You want to be able to
Yeah.
connect with that person. And I'm going to give you an analogy of this, just like I did with the restaurant. So
Cool.
imagine, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people might be able to relate to this, but let's say you went to a gym and you were looking to, lose weight, and you hire this personal trainer, and the first trainer goes, oh man, everything's been so easy for me. I never have any hardship or any struggle. I lose weight super quickly, and it's gonna be easy for you because it was easy for me. You're gonna feel a little bit of a disconnect. Like, just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for me. So that's
Yeah.
that's that's option A. Option
Mhm.
B, let's say you go to this next trainer, and the next trainer's like, you know what? I used to be overweight. I was actually overweight my entire life. I tried a couple of diets that didn't work, but I found this one thing that ended up working, and it's helped me. I understand what it's like to, go home and have these things in my fridge because I have kids and I can't eat
Mhm.
them, but my kids can eat them. So I understand how to deal with that. I understand what it's like to go out with friends and, they're all eating this thing, but I'm not eating that because I'm trying to achieve a certain goal. I understand all those things. I'm taking all of my wisdom and now I'm going to help you along your journey. You know, I'm going to ask, but which one do you think most people would prefer to go with? Option A or option B?
Yeah, option B for
Right?
sure.
They want to go with option B. And as a music teacher, a lot of people go with the option A. Hey, I've been teaching for 25 years. Well, here at so and so music school, I've been teaching for 25 years. I have experience in helping students achieve their maximum potential. That's how a lot of copy reads. But if you go the emotional route and you connect with their internal and what they're feeling and speak to them like, hey, just like you, I remember what it's like to struggle putting my hands together. Like, I don't play piano, so I'm gonna try my best at this. I understand what it's
Yeah.
like to struggle putting your hands together. Your fingers would not do what you wanted your fingers to do. You would often get frustrated, and I almost thought about quitting piano altogether. I understand you, and as soon as they see that you understand them,
Mhm.
then there's a saying that goes, if you can explain their problem to them with enough detail, they automatically assume that you have the answer for that problem that you're explaining that they're experiencing. So that's how
100%.
I would infuse connection into the emotion. And that's the thing that will allow people to feel connected to you and resonate with them.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. 100%. It's like um, it's like when they land on your website, they should feel like these are my people, and
Yeah,
this is where I belong, and just being able to put yourself aside and put them in front and be like, this is about you. I think that is so important. So important.
it is incredibly important. And it's it's often not done because people aren't used to writing like that.
Yeah. It's just
I
something we're
I
not
think
used to.
yeah, I think a lot of people look at other music teachers' websites for inspiration, and that's
Hmm.
where we get a lot of the at so and so academy. We are striving for excellence and like whatever those things are. That's what a
Hmm.
lot of people are kind of writing. But if you remember that a website is just a representation of you online, so it's just you talking to the visitor. They're reading, but you're talking to them. If you can
Hmm.
imagine that as a one-to-one conversation, you would never really say at so and so music school we pride ourselves on the best education in. You would say, you know at at this music school we understand what it's like for your child to be nervous. They haven't tried this before. We get it. It's new. And as with anything new, it comes with certain challenges. But
Hmm.
you're not the first kid who's taken lessons here. And we have things put into place to help you overcome those challenges, such as boom, 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 boom. So that
Yes.
resonates
Yes.
more than, the at so and so music school. I don't know why I keep doing that. I just think of some infomercial playing in my head. As
Yeah. Well, cool. This is the work. This is the work right there when it comes to like iterating and improving.
for
Um,
sure.
Over the years, like, I guess when teachers are looking at their websites and wanting to improve that, like, how do you search for problems that are happening on the websites and be able to know what to target on there to iterate? Like, this
Mm,
part isn't working or something like that. Like what has that experience been for you or for the people that you've worked with as well? Like,
for sure.
how do you know what to iterate? How do you find what to iterate? And then what do you do to iterate?
Hmm.
Like, what's things? Yeah.
Sure. So there's like a complex way to kind of do it and an easy way. So
Hmm.
a complex or more, not yeah, I guess it is complex. A complex way would be using Google Analytics to sort of like look at things and what's bounce rate and how long are people spending on site. But that doesn't tell the
Hmm.
whole story. There's an easier way, and the easier way is to use a behavioral analytics tool to look at what people are doing on your website. So I'm going to
Oh,
list off a
interesting.
couple of them. One of them would be Microsoft Clarity, which is free. Another one that I've used Hotjar, I've used Lucky Orange. Those would be like I guess the biggest players in the space.
Hmm.
And what it does is you put this snippet of code on your website, and it visually records what they're doing on your website, right? So
Hmm.
you can see, okay, this person it's as if you're watching them as they're going through the site. They click this, they scroll to this, they spend this much time on the site. And what you would have to do is you would have to watch all the recordings.
Hmm.
And as you start to watch these recordings, you would start to get an understanding of, okay, well, wow, people aren't making it all the way to my pricing section, for example. So I
Hmm.
should probably have my pricing higher up, or maybe people are kind of skipping over this. Maybe it doesn't resonate with them. And you would start to pull different kinds of analytics and ideas on things to iterate. Oh man, I've honestly so many times I've watched somebody interact with my site because in our heads we have an idea of how it's supposed to go. It's in our mind it's
Hmm.
supposed to be smooth. They're going to come to the site, then they're going to click this button, and then they're going to sign up. But people don't always operate like that.
Yeah.
So maybe they're clicking on something that looks like a button but isn't a button, and that's confusing to them. Or
Okay.
or maybe the button isn't standing out as much as it should. And you only can really see that as you watch somebody going through your site and what are things that they're clicking on. So
Hmm.
that's my first thing when I'm working with somebody and we're trying to see like what are we going to iterate
Yeah.
is I put this behavioral analytics on it so I can take a look at what's happening under the hood.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you looking at it more in like trends rather than individual like things? Or like are you looking for trends on like what is happening consistently or
For sure.
um yeah.
Hmm. So I wouldn't put too much stock in any one-off thing, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, because like that could be just some one-off person, but if it's a trend that's happening,
Hmm.
then I would say, let me look into that. And then I look into it, and then I think to myself, and then I try to think of my hypothesis. Well, if I change this thing, then will this thing happen? So
Hmm.
I'm going to use a button, for example. If I change the copy on the button, what will happen then? And I change it, and then I look and I see, okay, are
Hmm.
more people clicking it? Is it resonating? Do I feel like it's resonating? And the reason why it's important to do it this way for music teachers is because honestly, a lot of music teachers don't have hundreds of thousands of people coming to their site in order to make these like Google Analytics sort of opinions because you need a lot of data coming in. But you can
Yeah.
make good educated guesses if you look at how people are actually interacting on your site as they interact with it. You can always go back
Mm.
and look at the data again and watch these videos over again.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I think it'd be a good time to like kind of break down your method. I know that you have like your way of doing things as well. Like, can you give
Mhm.
me kind of like a crash course on what you do with the websites? Like, like what's kind of like the first steps that you do with a client? What does that look
For
like? What's
sure.
that process?
So I would say the old way that a lot of teachers kind of sort of try to get a new website would be, they sign up to wherever they are, whatever platform they're on, and they pick out a template and they just dive right in and start filling it in with their images, their content, their information without doing the work. I was going to say off the bench as a piano term. Yeah, they don't do the work off the bench to
Hmm.
actually have a pen and paper and write things down. So there are a couple things that I think of. And how this came about is because our studio, like my girlfriend's piano lesson studio, we transitioned from doing one-on-one lessons. That was the primary way that we were teaching lessons or that she was teaching lessons.
Mm.
And now we strictly do lab style lessons.
Oh
So I
yeah, yeah,
had to
yeah.
change the marketing message on the website to go from, you know, we're doing one-on-one lessons now to, well, now we're doing, lab lessons. So the couple of things that I thought about, it was kind of like 7 questions that I thought about. I thought about, what is the specific goal or objective that these lab lessons will bring,
Hmm.
why are we offering this? So that was the first thing that I had to think about is why are we offering this? And the reason was because we saw inefficiencies for us with one-on-one lessons.
Hmm.
There were these inefficiencies, and also we felt like everybody else was doing one-on-one lessons around us. We're in New York, so you can throw a stone and
Yeah.
hit 17 million other music teachers who are all doing the same thing. So you had, and this is something you posted on your Facebook page, I think it was yesterday. You had spoken, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were speaking
Oh,
about everybody tries to be better, but being different is better than being better. And that's
yeah.
something that we had resonated with in terms of if everybody's offering um, one-on-one piano lessons, we, it's difficult to be better because we're all doing the same thing. But if we do something different, now that you're offering something different, people will look at you in a different light because they can't compare you to everybody else because you're over
Hmm.
here. So
Yeah.
that was another reason why we started doing lab style piano lessons.
Yeah, I love it. So you being kind of like a tangent from
Hmm.
from the previous one,
Yeah, yeah.
like you being able to go into lab style lessons, like I'm kind of curious, what was your experience? How did things change in terms of the business, in terms of growth, like in terms of maybe the vibe of the of being in the
Yeah.
music school too? Like,
Okay.
how did things change? Like, how did it? What did it feel like on the other side
Mm.
after moving away from one on one into lab?
Sure. So with anything new, it's a scary thing, because this is the thing that you've always known, she's grown up with these lessons. She took one-on-one lessons her whole life, so it's kind of scary at first to move to something new. But if you're moving to something that's new and better, it becomes you understand why you're doing this thing. So there were a couple of things like vibe changes that were incredible that we would not have been able to experience as doing one-on-one lessons. One, she started teaching less hours, right? So
Hmm.
she was teaching before, if you have a half an hour, she was teaching maybe 12 to 15 hours a week. Her studio wasn't full at that time, but it's 12 to 15 hours a week. Now she's teaching 7 hours a week.
Mm,
So she's able to have more free time and do things that she wants. But the a really cool thing, and I don't know if this is so much a thing with other instruments, but I feel like piano, especially, is such a solitary instrument.
yeah,
It's like usually the
it's a
one
lonely
pianist.
instrument.
Yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
lonely instrument, because even at like even if you play like violin, you have an orchestra, you have violin friends, but the piano is just the one pianist by themselves. It's a very lonely instrument. But what lab lessons has allowed is to have a little bit of that group camaraderie. People have friends because they it's they learn as they don't learn as a group. They learn
Mhm.
individually. They're just in the same room together. So think about it like computer lab. When you're in school,
Yeah,
you have your own headphones. You're working on your own thing, but the teacher could kind of come around and help you out. It's pretty much exactly like that. So to
yeah,
have that group camaraderie, to have the hey, the I keep saying group camaraderie, but they have that. But what they also have is this it's friendship, honestly, and that's something that's
hmm,
missing from this one-on-one lesson. So on the flip side of the one-on-one is seeing students become friends with each other, because when you're doing one-on-one lessons, you're just seeing the student as they pass by, when you're
yeah,
switching classes. But now it's hey, did you work on so and so measure? Or they're listening to each other, or they have like a little bit of back and forth banter, and that camaraderie is something that I think is missing from one-on-one lessons.
hmm,
But from like a teaching standpoint, one thing that it really helped with, and Sarah can attest to this, who is my girlfriend, she said that with one-on-one lessons, she felt like there was a lot of learned helplessness, where the student would play something and then look at the teacher and say, is that right?
mm,
Or is that right? But with lab style lessons, the student is forced to kind of figure things out on their
hmm,
own. But that's very good in an amazing way, because when
yeah,
they go home now, they have to figure it out on their own anyway. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong, in lab style lessons, they can raise their hand and ask for help. But the independence that having lab style lessons builds, it's incredible, and they
yeah,
progress much faster than they do with one-on-one lessons.
yeah. I always say it. It's like that's something that I wish I had when I was growing up with piano lessons. Like I went through the traditional route, like one-on-one lesson, go to my piano teacher's home. But the only time that I get to see my um, other students is passing by in between lessons
Yeah.
or at the recital. And I remember she got so big that she had to do two recitals, so I wouldn't even see like half
Mm,
the students there. So I definitely feel with the loneliness part of it, and um, I wish I wish that like more teachers would be able to just be able to offer that and just have that
mm,
as an option, even if it's even if it's like something they do on the side as well, because um, I believe that every student, it's like our job as teachers to help the student learn with their best learning style. And
yes,
a lot of times we feel like one-on-one is the best because it's the most expensive. The students get that time and attention, but one-on-one lessons work for some students, but we also have to remember that maybe group lessons, maybe lab style lessons work even better for other students' learning styles as well. So it's not up to us to figure out. It's not to us up to us to force them into one-on-one lessons, but it's for up to us to put them in the right learning environment so that they succeed the best that
for
they can.
sure,
So I'm glad that you
for
offer
sure.
that. But yeah, kind of going back to like the going back to your method, like so figuring out the things that you have to do off the bench, like before we
Yeah,
even
yeah,
start building off the
yeah,
website, we got to figure out the back like the planning, the messaging, and all of that.
correct. So,
What's next?
so the next one would be, so the next one is honestly like, who is this target market for? Like, who are you, you know, putting out these lessons for, or maybe putting out a course, but who are you looking to attract? So that would be the
Mm-hmm.
next thing that I would kind of look into. After that, it would be looking into what sets this apart from what you currently provide or what other
Mm,
people provide in your market. So where does it fit within what you offer? And then where does it fit as a whole in what everybody else offers?
yeah.
After that, the next thing I kind of looked into is how does this new product or service or whatever it is that you're going to be offering, how does it address the needs and pain points of the target audience? So those would be like the next couple of things that I would sort of look into. There
Awesome.
are two more. The
Mm-hmm.
next one would be what are the key features or benefits that I want to emphasize? And the last one is as you're writing the copy, what is the tone or the voice that you want to have as you write this? So I would write down three things for us and our website. It is transparent, it is down to earth, it is honest, and it is vulnerable. So as I'm
Mm,
writing copy, I try to write it through that lens and I try to write not hypey copy. I don't want it to be able to be hype. I want it to be, down to earth and vulnerable. So those would be the things that I think a person should go through before they hop on their, website builder and start building out this page.
makes sense. So what is it like having that all implemented? What did kind of like the results look like? Like what have you seen with um, the before and after of these improvements with either like the teachers you work with
Mm-hmm,
for the piano studio? Like what is that? Yeah, what does
for
that look
sure.
like?
So I will give you a story about a client of mine, Michael. He's
Uh-huh.
a guitar teacher in Australia, and when he came to me, he kind of had a website designer kind of take advantage of him slightly. This designer sort of was stringing him along for months. And at the end of it, he had a website that was not really useful. So then Michael had to go in there and put the pieces together the best that he could. Now, mind you, he's a successful guitar teacher, but he's not a successful web designer, right? So his website was done the best that he could. So he came to me and said, Demitris, this and this happened. This guy kind of took advantage of me. I did the best that I could, but I want to see what you're able to do now. As you being a professional, can you help me? I said, absolutely, we can help you. And so he had this site running because he wanted to do a test. He's a very technical, analytical person. He wants to look at the numbers, see what it's doing, see what it's not doing. And this is what he said. He said, the first month that I had your website live, like when we switched it over in that first month, he got 56 new inquiries about guitar lessons. It was
Mm,
56. And he said, in the previous year, because he does like a year to date, the previous year, he had also had 56 inquiries. And on paper, that would seem like, wow, he didn't really grow much from year one, or not year one, but from the last year to this year. And he said, but you know what the thing is that the majority of the inquiries, when you put your site up, it came through the website. Whereas before,
Mm,
I was paying for leads, but now the most of my leads are coming through organic. And he
organic,
said, you know
yeah.
what? Yeah. And he said, well, the second month I had this up, the first week alone, I had 28 inquiries for my guitar lessons. So it was only the first week, the first 7 days of the month. And he already had 28 leads, which was going to eclipse what he had previously. And the kicker, the whole thing, he said, this is in our slowest month because he's in Australia. So for him, December time is like summertime, which lessons tend to
Hmm.
slow down in summer everywhere, like usually. So he said, you know what? Um, this is my slow time, and we're having the most inquiries we've ever had as a result of implementing the things that you implemented for us. I was like, that was incredible.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, cool. Well, first off, I just want to say I've learned a lot. Learned so much from this
Thank you
past
so
like 40
much.
minutes so far. Appreciate you for sharing your story. Anything else that you wanted to share that you feel like would be helpful? Anything that kind of want to put out there that would
Sure,
be helpful for teachers?
sure. So one of the things, like I do want to leave your audience with value. You know, I want to lead with value. So I've actually put together a quiz that music teachers can take so they can determine how good their website is doing. It's actually called a website attraction quiz, and the domain that they can go to this and take this quiz is websiteattractionquiz.com.
Cool.
And what this
Yeah, I'll
it
include it
is,
for sure.
yeah, awesome. It's going to give them 9 multiple choice questions that they answer. And at the end of this quiz, it will give them actionable tips to their specific situation and things that they can do to improve their website. Because at the end of the day, my goal is to raise the bar of music teachers' websites everywhere. I think that if we can raise the bar that teachers are kind of feeling, like they may not belong, or I'm just a music teacher, or they feel a little bit smaller than because people look at them like, oh, is this all you do? Is this your job? And I honestly believe in my core, if I can have them have a more impactful website, if I can have them have a website that they're proud to show off, that they're proud to send people to, then maybe they can walk around in the world with a little bit more confidence in themselves. So I would really hope that anybody who wants to improve their website go to websiteattractionquiz.com and they take this because I put a lot of time into it and I really want to help teachers succeed.
I love it. I love it. Where's the best place to connect with you if any teachers have any questions want to connect with you?
Sure. So honestly, the best way into my world will be through that quiz. So once they take that quiz, I'll send them all my
Cool.
socials. They can send me an email if they want to ask any questions. So that would be the best ways to start with the quiz.
I love it. I love it. Sweet. Well, Demetrius, like, thank you. I'm excited. Like, if there's any like opportunities to create more content in the future, I'm always open to it. But of course,
Thank you so
if
much.
anyone else is watching this, like, let us know any questions. Obviously, Demetrius is like more. You see more than open to answering and helping other teachers. So this is exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.